cold. I'm glad I wore my sweatshirt today.
Yep.
Yeah.
I haven't worn the sweatshirt in, I don't know that I've worn this sweatshirt, actually. Nadine's worn it.
No, those are comfortable. Those sweatshirts
Yeah,
are.
They are.
Those were a good one.
Nice and fluffy.
Did I ever show you guys the first batch that we got of those?
No.
No.
Dude, it was they took the logo and it still, I guess, had a color in the background.
Oh.
So they just
was
printed
solid.
the color.
Yeah.
Dude, it looked so bad. I was like, dude, this is terrible.
It's a lot of ink.
They had only
Yeah.
done one. It was like a tester or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, we can't do that. I should have gave that one to Casey or something like that. Be like, dude, this one's yours. Always give him the one that's like off.
Poor guy.
That is mean.
Micah finally told him that he's been moving his.
You told him?
His,
Yeah, it was the right time.
his degree on the wall.
Yeah.
So for the past, just like for context, so for the past, I don't know, 6 years now.
Since we've been in that
that's
building.
correct, yeah.
In Casey's office, he's got 4 like things on the wall, like it's like his degrees or
Picture
whatever.
of John Maxwell.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so there's this one that's always tilted. It's always tilted, and Casey's always like fixing it, and it's always tilted, and so it's like, man, why is it always tilted? And his, the thought process, or what he was told by Micah, was that it probably is because the door, when it closes, it probably shakes
sense.
it, and
Just
he's
the
like,
one.
man. And so he had just one out of 4, and he always goes in and tries to fix it. Well, the reality is that Micah goes in his office after he fixes it and moves it back.
Yeah.
So for literally 6 years,
It's amazing.
Yeah.
he kept doing it, and just about 2 months ago,
Yeah.
finally told Casey
Wow.
that it was a joke.
I think
and
his reply was something like, I don't even need them. Like, I'm just going to burn
I'm
them
just
all
gonna
in.
burn 'em. The most Casey response
That's the
possible.
response.
I don't need these.
I don't need these.
Burn them, and then I'll go get more that won't move.
That's right. Yeah. What
Super
does that
glue
mean?
to the wall.
That's it. We're gonna plaster these to the wall so you can't move them. I love Casey, dude. He would be a blast on this
would.
podcast.
Either be a blast, or it would be really bad.
We want to be able to air the episodes.
Most filtered podcast. Be like, hey, we have our guest today. All right, see you guys next episode.
This is Casey. Bum, 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 bum. That's the episode.
Just the violent laugh. That's the only thing we
Yeah,
did.
absolutely.
Dude, let's bring him on season 3.
Season 3.
The-
There are a good bit of people that we need to have on here.
Dude,
It's gonna
that's
be
true.
good.
Season 3 is coming. But we're in season 2 right now.
2.
This is season 2, episode 14.
Almost
We only
16.
have this episode and one episode after this to complete the season.
Very cool.
Time flies when it's terrible.
You
Isn't
just,
that the way
you just hate to hear it. Hate to hear we only got 2 more episodes.
Dang it.
But
Dang.
if you're still with us in season 2 and you're still watching,
All 47 of them.
Yeah, dude, our Spotify Wrapped came out for the podcast. We got 47 true subscribers.
What is it? What's
Number one.
Scriders.
It
What
does
means
it
that we're
mean?
their number 1 podcast.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
they're number 1.
Yeah,
Wow.
we got 100
Yeah,
people
dude.
that were top 10. So,
Look at there.
Hey, it's a
Oh,
big
yeah.
deal.
our top
Does the
listener.
48 also include in
I'm
the
sure it
100?
does.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
so,
'cause it's-
dang it.
yeah.
It's trying
47.
148.
Yeah, nope. Can't do that math.
Our top listener, our top subscriber, listened a total of 71 minutes. No, I'm just kidding.
Total.
That's pretty bad.
That's amazing.
Osprey Flyer, one of the boys,
Yeah.
one of the minions.
The Dominion.
We were his number 1 podcast.
I think we were Landon's too. Shout out Landon.
Yeah, Landon.
I tried to share his, but on his
He only
Instagram
tagged Northwood.
Well, no, but because it's like a private story or like limited audience, whatever that is, you can't share it. So,
Come on,
like, I can't
man.
add his
Come on, man.
story to my story.
Unprivatize your Instagram.
So, anyway, this is that episode where we talk about all the cool things. We are actually going to have a fun time today. But one thing that we need to know right up front, we're running a contest this week. So, as you watch this, you need to be sure to like this and share it, whatever platform you're on, Spotify, if you're watching on YouTube or wherever you're watching it, like it, share it, or subscribe, whatever that is. And then if you're on social media, we need you to comment what is your favorite or what is the best Christmas movie of all time? And what we'll be doing is we'll be randomly selecting one of those people to win an incredible Christmas sweater, and we'll be doing that on our next episode.
It's an awesome sweater.
It's a beautiful
It's
sweater.
incredible.
We did an ugly Christmas sweater one time. This is several years ago. And, you know, if you don't get ahead of the game in the ugly Christmas sweater, like getting it, it's hard to find.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I did ask my grandma, hey, can I look at your Christmas sweaters? And she's like, sure, sure. And this is probably 10, 12 years ago. Yeah. So I found one, you know, and me, a couple other people got a few sweaters from her. Mine had like poinsettias and like the big shoulder pads.
Very
and everything.
nice.
I was like, this is incredible. Anyway, I brought it back. She's like, well, you know, why did you need that or need to borrow it? So I had to explain to her that it was a Christmas sweater party.
Oh, no.
She's like, Christmas sweater party. And then she did see it on social media that it was an ugly Christmas sweater party.
Did you hurt her feelings?
Well, I had to explain to her, rearrange some words.
That her
to say-
sweaters are ugly?
Yeah.
Well,
They
see,
were
Grandma,
ugly for
what it
me.
is
They're
you have
beautiful
ugly
for you.
sweaters.
They're vintage sweaters,
Vintage.
Grandma.
Shoulder pads are awesome, though. You feel like a football player just running into people.
So for this giveaway, is there a correct answer to the best Christmas movie?
No, it's going to be randomly selected, and then we'll
Yeah.
discuss them like we did on the Thanksgiving episode.
Okay.
We'll discuss what they are. We'll say which ones are right, which ones are
Yeah.
wrong.
Gotcha.
So there is a right answer.
Yeah.
We
really.
determine what is
it.
right.
I like that. I can get behind that.
We had some people really get angry on the Thanksgiving episode,
Yeah,
like the
dude.
foods.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But like with comments like oyster gravy, we had some people that are really
Big
passionate
fans.
about oyster gravy.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude.
Wow. Can we block them?
Yeah. Joel, your family said they had oyster gravy.
Dude, my in-laws had the oyster dressing. I saw it and I was
Oyster
I've
like,
never
dressing.
had it.
Oh,
I didn't
yeah?
know it was a thing.
neither have I. But
Yeah.
it was there.
Did you try it?
Absolutely not.
Oh,
You didn't
man.
try it? Oh,
Absolutely
come
Dude,
on.
how are we going to know?
You don't have to try some things. Some things you just know.
Just-
Some things you just know.
Those words don't go together.
Yeah.
Oyster gravy, dressing.
Dressing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, I'm
It
good.
sounds good. I would do it.
I did like one of our clips how somebody called out Joel for being the most negative person. Said, I
Absolutely,
would
man.
not let him around my kids.
Yeah.
I don't want to be around your
They also
family.
said we have like all the same palate. It was just, there's some wild comments
really?
on there. Oh, yeah.
So any new news since new news?
New news.
New
New
news.
news.
Any new news since the last time we met?
I don't have news, but I do have a story that I saw recently. So, have you guys seen what's going on with Callaway Golf and their
what's going
tattoo
on?
saga?
No.
What?
Yeah, bro. So Callaway, if you don't know, is like a big golf brand, and they had a guy DM them. It was like, "Hey, Callaway, I need new gear. What can I do?" And no response. And so he responded again. He's like, "What is a tattoo worth?" It's like, "What can I get for a tattoo?" And so they responded. So like, "I'm listening. Like, what do you want?" And so like, "I really need some new clubs. Like, what's this?" And so they sent him a list of options. It's like, okay, if you get a forearm tattoo, that's like, we'll give you some wedges. If you get a thigh tattoo, you'll get wedges and irons. If you get a chest tattoo, we'll give you driver and irons. And then the last option they said, if you get a lower back tattoo, parentheses, please don't do this to yourself, we'll give you the full bag.
Oh.
And he responded, was like, okay, I'll get chest and I want drivers, irons, throw in a t-shirt. And so they responded. They were like, yeah, we'll give it to you. And
That's awesome.
that's fine. It's got to be 3x3, whatever. But the last post that Callaway made about it was a meme of a dude crying. And he was like, when legal tells you to please stop posting about the tattoo saga. But the dude got the tattoo. They confirmed in the caption. He was like, he did it. We hooked him up and it's done. So
Wow.
shoot your shot,
Awesome.
bro. If you need some new gear, DM a company and get a
Dude,
tattoo
so
on
if
your
you
chest.
want the Christmas sweater, there's some tattoo options.
I'm willing to get the pillow cube tattoo.
Scrubscrider. No
French-
regrets.
French coffee.
French coffee.
How much coffee
The
does
F
that
is
get me?
spelled backwards.
Yeah. Just really go for it all. Man, that's awesome. I didn't
Crazy,
know
dude.
that.
Wow.
I didn't either.
Marketing space.
I
People are the new
DM'd
marketing
everybody.
space.
I mean,
I was about
it
to
was like
say, I was
Nike
maybe he's been wanting me to get a tattoo. That makes
There you
sense.
go.
I could do that.
right there on the chest.
Right there.
Thanks, Ping.
Huh.
But hey, this is a fun episode. Us four back, kind of the original ones, the staples of the podcast. All of our views are more when other people are on this, though.
They're like, oh, it's four idiots.
Has anybody ever asked you guys if they could be on the podcast?
No.
No. I've got a couple friends
haven't
that
had any
won't leave me
asks.
alone.
Really?
Victor Rodriguez. Man, when are you going to let me on?
Never. Victor? Never.
That's
We
what I
won't be able to actually show anything.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
I said, bro, you just want to hang out and talk.
Yeah.
Like, we can do that.
I'm not committed to that level of editing, Victor.
I get way too excited.
Dude,
Not-
you're right. I
not
keep
doing
saying
it.
next season, but at the end of season 1, I said, hey, season 2, I'm sure. And the text this morning, I was like,
Dude,
man,
the
season
board said
3.
no this year. Today again.
I asked. I floated the idea out there, man.
That's it. We put it out there.
Yeah, no, I haven't had any requests to be on the podcast. I've had a couple guys be like, dude, that looks awesome.
Yeah.
I'd like to do that.
Well,
Then I'm like, yeah.
it is
Gotta
awesome.
go now.
It is awesome. Hey, but that did bring up one of our questions that we
Okay.
got. And one of the questions that we got was really for all of us, but it was this: if you could bring on any celebrity, they didn't preface if they're living or dead. So, I mean, you know, whatever. If you could bring any celebrity or person, not Jesus. Not Jesus.
Dang it.
He would not be happy with this podcast now that I think about that.
I don't think he would accept.
I just realized that. Well, of course we're not going to invite him.
No.
It's
Okay.
like, yeah, no.
Can't do that, boys.
Who would you want it to be?
Man, there's a lot of different routes you can go with this.
Yeah.
No.
The two names that popped up for me were Jordan Peterson or Mike Tyson.
At the same time.
Oh,
Together.
that's quite a spectrum you got there.
Welcome to my brain.
Dude, that'd be a fun
be-
conversation.
That'd be tremendous.
Be like,
Wow.
I mean, man, I just think that.
Why are you punching everyone in the face, Mike?
I mean, you know, some people
It's from
need
a
to get punched in
deep-rooted
the
issue
face.
because he
I
got
mean,
beat up as a kid.
It's spinal.
Final. My
You guys,
fat.
you guys see him eat a whole handful of mushrooms?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that podcast?
Yeah.
Oh my
He's
gosh.
Mike
Dude, you might
Tyson.
eat our mushrooms. Go back
He
there
might eat the sheetrock. I don't know what he would do.
and then
Yeah.
bite Jordan's ear.
Where'd that pumpkin go? Where'd that pumpkin go?
Bring my pumpkin back.
dude, you know what would be fun? It would be to take clips from both of them, like a long form, like
Oh, yeah.
a podcast where
Like
Mike's
we're
on and Jordan is on
Yeah.
one,
Yep.
and then edit it to where they're interacting,
Yeah.
but they're not really. It's where, cause,
And it's just us in the back going,
Yeah. Yep. Those are some of my favorite clips.
Yeah.
People do that to Rogan all the time.
Yep.
It's amazing.
do they really?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen
They
that.
did it like him and Elon, like having an argument, even though they're not really fighting.
Really?
That's
Oh,
awesome.
It's tremendous.
I
dude.
love it.
I
Yeah.
would love
be a
Joe
good
Rogan
mix.
on the podcast.
Joe Rogan.
I think he would have a fun time talking about church stuff with people who are like all into church. Because he does find it interesting. He's like, there was a clip recently. He was like, man, I do see the good in people like centering around one good thing and kind of like all being unified in that. He says there's something beautiful about that. So I think he would find it interesting talking to us about
Yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah, he goes pretty deep. I haven't listened
Mm-hmm.
to. I've never actually listened to one complete
No.
podcast from him.
That's what I was going to
But
say. It's
I've
all
listened to-
clips.
yeah, a ton of clips, and even like some of those longer clips. But yeah, I mean, he goes deep with Jordan Peterson and
Yeah.
a lot of those guys. I'd have to go with like one of the like original like founding fathers of America. Like I really would. Like
Yeah.
I would be super interested to hear like their actual take on things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I mean, we've got books and we've got people that take history and talk about it, but it's like to talk to somebody that like their original mindset around creating America,
Yeah.
like the mindset and the you know approach to it, and like their interpretation of some of the laws or you know the Constitution and whatnot, like how it would actually apply to today.
Yeah.
It'd be super.
Yeah.
I feel the same exact way about like Paul though, like Apostle Paul.
Right.
I really do, because it's like we are in 2023, and so we are reading things from hundreds or you know thousands, depending on what you're talking about, years ago, and interpreting it into today.
Yep.
But it would be fun to have a conversation today with a person from. I mean, you know, it's all make believe here.
Yeah.
But for them to actually be like, that is not what we meant at all.
Yeah.
or no, you guys are actually this
Yeah.
is you're doing well. I don't know. It's just so
Yeah, dude, founding fathers, dude. I would love to have Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton on here for a debate because they were two polar opposites on how
Yeah.
they wanted our country to kind of like play out.
Yeah.
So that'd be fun to have them on here.
yeah.
Paul was the first one that came to mind. That'd be interesting for the same reason. It was like, what does this really actually mean?
Yeah.
Founding fathers, it's interesting. There's a couple like sports. Like I just like basketball, so it'd be cool to have like you have the documentaries of the Dream Team and stuff, but
Yeah,
having somebody that
that was
was
good.
there. But like, I don't want Michael Jordan, or I don't want one of the people that were in it because they're going to tell it biased. Like,
Yeah.
I want a trainer or a coach or someone
Yeah,
who's on
there
the
you go.
sidelines. Like, tell me what'd you really see?
Yeah.
You know, like somebody that was in the gym when LeBron and MJ 1v1,
Yep.
and there's no video of that left.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Didn't know that.
Oh,
I'd love
Micah
to hear
knows.
it. I'd love to hear
Micah
it.
knows.
Well, Shaq 1v1 them both too, and he won.
Yeah.
No,
and
I
there's
think
clips that you've
LeBron
seen.
Really?
There's
took him
clips
to the
that you've
rack.
seen of both of those 1v1s.
Yeah,
But
But
not
when
the full
Jordan
video.
and LeBron 1v1,
that one disappeared.
there's no videos of that.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is. Oh,
No,
okay, there it is.
Braun took him to the rack. There's no doubt about it. That young gun.
Yeah, for sure.
We got another question that I think this is the episode that's appropriate for us to answer it. But it was again geared at all of us. But it's talking about ending the year. It really had some content around like New Year's New Year's resolutions. But it's really looking back at this year, 2023. And it says, winding the year down, what is one way that you've personally seen God working in your own life, not the church, but in your personal life?
I've never been a person that like typically has like a specific thing. Like if man, what's God spoken to you in the last week? Like, you know how some people are like, man, God, you know, like I was talking to God the other day, and they have like this conversation with God, like literally, like, I said this, and then God, I heard God say this back, and then I asked God, well, why, Lord? And then I'm like,
The inflection, the accent's
yeah,
getting me.
why, God?
It eventually trails.
A lot of times for me, it's I tend to look back and realize where maybe God began to deal with me or guide me or change something in me, and you look back and you're like, wow, a lot's changed. I think that if I go back the last few years, one of the things that God has done in my life has been to break me of caring too much about. It sounds very high school, but it's a thing. Breaking me of caring too much about what people perceive about me, and how it would affect. It did affect the way that I would even operate in my life. You know, just being confident in who God has designed me to be, and being confident in that. You know, obviously a lot of that is. It does play out a lot in regards to church. You know, when you got to stand up every week and preach, that's a very public test, I guess.
you're right.
Every week, and so it exposes a lot of insecurities in your heart and in your life, and things that you wouldn't have to deal with if you didn't do that.
Sure.
You know, I just wouldn't have to deal with you if you don't stand up in front of people every single week as a teacher of the things of God. You know, it's like this. It's just this giant weight. It tests your motives consistently.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when I hear that question, I think about how over the last few years, and I say few years because I can't say it's just this calendar year. It's and you know, it's going to continue.
Yeah.
But it's the motives behind things that I do, why I do them, and also having to continually say that what I am doing is for God and not for myself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's those typical things. But that would probably be the number one thing that God has been continually going back to. And in tandem with that, one of the subsets, or one of the things, if that was an umbrella, it would be I can know a lot about God, but there's a danger in just learning about God. Is that you learn about God, but you don't necessarily know God more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Piper said something years ago that I heard him. He was talking about. Somebody asked him a question. They said, "What would you warn young pastors about?" It was pastors or church leaders or something like that. He said, "I would warn them in not just falling in love with theology, but falling in love with God. Like, don't just fall in love with knowing about God, but fall in love with God."
Yeah.
And that challenged me because, you know, intellectually for me, that's a big part of really anything, like logic and understanding and it making sense and being able to explain it to other people, to myself, and but in that, think about it with a spouse, your wife. It's like if I was just interested in learning about my wife in order to explain, explain her to other people, and not actually growing in love for her.
Yep.
What a weird relationship. What a weird relationship. And it doesn't mean that you don't want to grow intellectually or whatever, but when that's the main pursuit, when that's the main objective is just to know more. And I think I was really heading that direction. And I'd be lying if I said that where I'm at right now in that process, like that I feel like I know I have to grow in that area more. I really do. Yeah. And so I think this year that's been something that God has really been convicting me about, is just like basically don't just know about me, but know me.
One thing that you use the word convicting, something that I've been noticing this year is my response to things when they don't go the way that I intended or planned. My response can be not full of the fruit of the Spirit, like not gentle or kind. And so an area I've been really working on is being more gentle in my response to things that don't go the way that I thought they should go, or even the way that I planned for them to go. It's like things don't always work out perfectly. And if you respond to every situation like it's a 10 when it's a 2, it's like that's not healthy. And that's something Jordan actually told me earlier this year, is like, I try to respond like everything's a 2. Even if it's not, even if it feels like a 10, I'm going to respond like a 2. It's like, man, I need to get better at that.
When those opportunities, or when those things happen that cause the anger or whatever inside of you, it's not just a natural response that there's gentleness there.
Absolutely not.
That's kind of a trap. I think when people talk about the fruit of the Holy Spirit, is the expectation is I'm a Christian, so when those things happen, gentleness is just readily available. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever by default chosen gentleness or kindness. Yeah. Not one time has that been my natural, I'll do this because I'm saved. Yeah. Like, no, you still got to crucify the flesh and be like, I'm supposed to be gentle, so I will be gentle.
Yeah.
I think it's a good point, because in a society too that is very I mean this in a super positive, not positive. I mean this in the actual way that the word's meant to be used, is in a more of a feminized culture, not feminist movement. I'm not talking about that, but the word feminine. There's different attributes. There's masculine and feminine attributes, and one of, there's masculine attributes, and masculine men tend to be more aggressive or assertive and different things, and in a culture that is kind of becoming anti those things, and becoming more feminine or more nurturing and all this kind of stuff. People don't like people don't like people to criticize people or be even making fun of people. It's one of the things about humor nowadays. You can't even joke about stuff because people get very sensitive, and it's like, what is that? Yeah. Well, feelings getting hurt. It's like, come on. Anyway, put that together with what you just said is, if you respond with any sort of aggression, it's like, oh wow, that's kind of like, geez, man. And it's like, no, man, I'm just talking about this passionately, or I'm just sharing my opinion.
I care about this.
Yeah. And it's like, no, just be docile, be tame. And so there's that conversation, which is like, hey, it's okay for someone to be to have an opinion and be strong about that opinion, or to be assertive. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater when we're talking about it's be angry and sin not. Right.
Yeah.
But and then but the part that you just said, where it's like, to think that because you're saved and because you're following God, that you're not going to have that thing that you're having to fight is unrealistic.
Absolutely.
But also sometimes it's just like, some people don't struggle. That's their aim. Some people's personality is just that. It's like they are, for whatever reason, they just never struggle with that because they aren't built that way to have that kind of reaction. Yeah. And it's like, that's more Christ-like. Actually, there's a lot of people who are extremely passive, and they think that being passive is being more Christ-like. And it's like, that's not all of these.
There's traps both ways.
There's this quote I really like. I can't remember who exactly said this, but I heard this on multiple podcasts, saying, I would rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Meaning, you want to have the strength of a warrior and know how to tame back and how to cultivate a great garden rather than a gardener who just goes up to war and doesn't know how to fight anything.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
tame the tongue, be strong in it, knowing the power that the tongue has. I mean, James talks about it all the time. It's like, man, knowing that the power that our words carry and the power that our the Holy Spirit is convicting us and transforming us into carries a lot of weight going into every conversation. So I think as a Christian, as a man, it causes us to second guess, hey, what am I about to say right now? I think that's the better way to approach it rather than being passive about it. It's like, no, I know I'm going to naturally be aggressive, but I'm going to tame back some of that aggression.
Yeah.
If you have the fire inside of your chest, wait till that fire is not a raging fire before you respond.
See you in 3 months.
right.
I'm still at a
Might take
10.
that long. Yeah.
True. Well, even the frustrating thing is like with my personality, a lot of that is inner. Like towards like when I mess up, I can easily beat myself over. Like
Yeah.
nobody knows the level I mess up more than I do. Like I'm not one of those people that can just write off and be like, things happen. It's like, nah, man, like that can't happen. Everything for me is that can't happen.
Yeah.
And so being able to do that towards myself more of like, there's a level of that can happen.
Yeah, like forgiving yourself.
Yeah, I was
It's a big
just
deal.
having more grace towards others for sure. But what a lot of people don't see is when you meet that aggressive person, it's like you have no idea. Like if they're telling you that, imagine how they feel about the actions that they're doing. Like,
It's that inner critic, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like the Lord's dealing with me with a lot of that. But honestly, I was thinking about this question. This has been a year of transition for both me and Amber. I mean, we transitioned out of students in the beginning of the year, and now we have another kid on the way. So it's just really solidified my weight as a father of like, man, what kind of rhythms are we setting up for our family that I want to continually pass down to James and Rayma for me and Amber. And we want to, Lord has just really been convicting me about modeling being a good husband and a good father so I can model that correctly for our kids.
I think for me, it comes down to the word patience. Just in almost every area of life. It's funny when you pray for certain things. It's like it's in every department you start to get opportunities for that area to grow. And, patience is one of those areas that it's kind of like, good things take long time.
Yep.
I mean, that's just what it is, I've been praying, in 2020, the church in Long Beach, all the churches, but in Long Beach, we saw the location dwindle in size. You know what I mean? And some really specific prayers around that was just, hey, God, whatever we can handle in a healthy way, God, just help me to grow so that if you want the church to grow, great, that kind of thing. So then lots of growth opportunities that just stretch the little areas, God, help me to love people more. You get unloving people or people that are tough to love in your life, God, help patience to develop in my life. And then just things that take long time to grow or become anything great. We're in a season just at our home where our kids are in the launch phase, especially my oldest one. I mean, she's a junior in high school, but just she's in the launch phase, and it's really a unique thing seeing a lifetime of work, truly a lifetime of work for her. I mean, it's 17 years of work for us, and then now here we are, like boom, 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 boom. And it's been 17 years of micro decisions that hopefully, and not all good decisions. We didn't do it all right. Don't get me wrong, but it's the micro decisions that make long-term big impact, hopefully. So I don't know. Patience is still just wait the course. Take your time. Don't try to change the world in 1 minute. I saw a quote the other day that said vision. How did it phrase it? It said vision rarely requires I don't remember. I sent it to you. I don't even have it.
Is it immediate action?
Yeah, vision
like
rarely requires immediate action, but always requires waiting. And
That's good.
I was like, man, actually in that season, I was actually really thankful for Jordan. Mm-hmm. And I text him because when I get an idea, I'm like, okay, implement it now. Let's let's make it happen. And that's just in every area of life, which is unhealthy because a lot of times the idea is something down the road that takes a roadmap to be developed. And that roadmap is where character grows for anybody. But for me, okay, this is where I want to go. But if you go right there, right now, your character, the infrastructure, whatever, isn't built to actually sustain that thing long term. So it's vision, whatever. It's just goals even, just in life, man. I want to have this in my family's life. Well, it's going to take 5 years to get there. And so, okay, financially you got to go. Well, that means you save the $20 this week.
Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff. But patience is the thing that the Lord is continuing to work in me. It hasn't been perfected by any means, but it is being worked on.
I think it's a very important question for everybody to ask. Whenever somebody asks you, hey, what's God been speaking to you lately? What's God dealing with you? Whenever you ask yourself or somebody else that question, it's a very introspective question that stimulates thoughts and like, no, really, what is God dealing with me about?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of Christians who never think those thoughts.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like just what, I mean, that's why small groups are so important because spiritual conversations, most people don't regularly have those, you know, and we get complacent and we get just settled in things. And it's like, no, what is the thing that God's dealing with you about? And it's typically something that's formational.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be transformational, hopefully, where it's, you know, you're transitioning or being transformed into a, you know, more Christ-like person. But there really should always be at least one thing that you can say, yeah, God's shaping me in this way.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's interesting too. All of us shared a conviction. Like that's the word for it. All of us shared this thing that we feel a sense of conviction of like, oh, that needs to come up.
Right.
Like none of us was like, oh, just his love is so good. Not that it's not good. Like that's great.
Yeah.
But like you said, we should be transitioning and forming our lives to look more like Christ. And I don't think that can happen without that sense of conviction and calling.
Growth and conviction are uncomfortable too. I'm reminded of a conversation me, Joel, and a few other guys were in the other night. It was like 5 guys from the church, like kind of in a small group type feel, and then one guy who's not a believer. He just found himself in the circle. And, you know, you're around guys, you're talking about all kinds of things, fun stuff, but the conversation turned spiritual quick. And it was like, oh, we're here. And it was heavy, but it was beautiful. Dude, the unbeliever, he straight up said, the moment there was a moment of silence, he's like, well, how did he word? He said, this is a downer. Let's talk about
Can we
something
go
else.
back to football now or something like that?
Dude, literally, because it was challenging.
Yeah.
It was seeing something in his life that it ain't there. I'm not with these guys. I don't know what's going on. So yeah, the only way you know is when you're confronted with it. You can either do that reflecting on yourself or the people around you.
You have to intentionally go there sometimes.
Yeah.
I ran to a guy a few days ago, and I was just like, hey, man, how you doing? And he's like, good, good. I said, no, how are you really doing? And I don't know. He might be doing good, but, you know, I think about that scenario with other people, and it's like when you ask that second question, it's almost like a decision that they have to make, or you have to make if you're being asked that. Are you going to be honest or not, and actually open up and be real? And but it takes somebody breaking that ice to go there. And yeah, if you're a believer, you actually have a desire to go there.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like I believe people who believe in God, they have a desire to have conversations that matter. You want to have fun conversations. We have a lot of fun. Yeah. I talk about dumb stuff most of the time, probably. You know. Yeah. But like, I have an appetite for iron sharpening iron. I have an appetite to be messed with, to be convicted, to be challenged, and to challenge others. And the way that God kind of reveals things in those moments is you have to make room for that.
But once you go there, it's so rich.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh, this is what friendships can be.
Yeah.
This is what brotherhood can be. That kind of thing. Yep. And so we did get another question that it kind of goes along with this, but I appreciate the angle that is coming from, and it's almost in a optimistic view. It was a fairly long question, but the question started with like, hey, you know, watch the news all the time. I see all these posts all the time. It's all negative, negative, negative. And it led to this question. It says, where do you think that the church, and they've got that in parentheses, so they said, where do you think the church is killing it right now? Not Northwood, the big church. Is there anything good happening?
The good stuff doesn't sell as many tickets.
It's true.
It doesn't sell as many
Docs.
news stories.
No docs coming from good stories.
That's right. No, you gotta air out the bad stuff.
Pretty boring TV.
Yeah.
Come on, Discovery Channel. Where's our documentary?
You're right. The viewer count is very, very low. You guys are just talking about good things.
People like criticism. They love it. They feed on it. Our culture feeds on negativity and all that, and they love it. And it's always, I think it's always been like that. It's like when people say like, sex sells. It's there's something mysterious and like about that.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. I saw a reel today. So the president was actually he was saying something that was pretty meaningful, and what he was saying, because the reporters were asking him a question, they were asking him a question in a way that was just there's no way to answer it and it not be bad.
Yeah.
And the way that the question was framed. And anyway, he said, I get it. He said, you guys, you sell negative news, like negativity sells, and he said, like, you open up social media or whatever, and you don't see articles like dog jumps in lake and saves boy. He says what you read is who pushed the dog in the lake, and it was a very simple but yet true illustration of the fact that if I'm scrolling through Facebook or anything like that, if you see a positive news story, it's kind of like, but you see the negative one, the corruption, and you're like, ooh.
Scandal.
So, we love it. It's horrible, but it's true. So, so good. What's going good in the church world? I would be I have to be honest and say that as far as the church world goes, this year I have, especially the last half of this year, I have been very I have not paid attention to a lot of things going on in the church world intentionally. I have tried to detox from drama and all that kind of stuff because, like I just said, typically the drama is what you're right. Finding out about.
It's true.
So I don't have a lot of like fresh information. However, one thing that I know is that every pastor that I talk to is experiencing growth in their church, and yes, numerical growth, but also culturally, like their churches are healthy. People are hungry. God is moving. There's baptisms and salvations and things happening, and like I honestly don't have a pastor friend of mine personally that is like, dude, my church is struggling. People are just, and they're not guys who are just gonna like blow hot air and just try to, they're friends. And it's like, I talked to a pastor texted me yesterday here in South Mississippi, and they're looking to start another location down here because, and so he was wanting have a conversation of like what that, what's been our experience and stuff like that. And they're one location right now, and they want to expand. He's like, because we've got people traveling from way over here, and
that's awesome.
And I'm like, dude, that another
Praise
church,
God.
They're starting another location over here, and oh man, we're sending missionaries or this or that. It's just it's positive stuff going on. So, the whole narrative that the local church is, and I know we've said this before, that the whole narrative that the local church is like collapsing. Maybe some mainline stuff is going down, and there's some negative things there. But as far as the people that I know personally, I'm like, man, it's really positive. I know our locations, things are really good.
There seems to be a hunger.
I think. And you said it. We said it a few episodes ago, and you clarified it. It's like God builds His church, and now I think that would really dovetail back into the question we just asked. For me personally, is a couple years ago, really it was 2020. It was the same time. I'd stopped caring about certain aspects of,
and
like,
that's not bad.
No,
it used to feel bad to say that.
It went lower on the priority list. Is what it was. And it also, I mean, just be honest, it had a lot. I didn't care anymore about what people thought about me, and tying my reputation, I guess, to the health or not health of the church. Is that if that makes sense?
Oh, I know.
And I was like, that is an unhealthy cycle in my mind and in my heart, because I'm going to tie my worth and my identity to the church. And I'd fought that. I mean, I've grown up in this, so I understand that trap. But whenever you get into a different position and you go through different seasons, 2020, how are pastors leading their church through this type of, you need to stand and you get told that when you're in really intense times. It's like people you see on Facebook, the church needs to do this, and the pastors need to do this, and it's like, okay, I guess I need to. And through that process, I was like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tie my worth to whether
Yeah.
or not I'm doing what that person feels like I need to
Yeah.
do or not do.
Yeah.
I would say that the church is. I would say the churches that I'm connected to are doing the work of the ministry very well, loving people, caring for people, and preaching and teaching the gospel.
Yeah.
And I think that actually the church is the healthy church is growing.
Yeah.
Right now. You know.
I just want to piggyback off you because it's pretty closely related. Mine would just be with especially young people, students. There just appears to be this true hunger, desire for God, for community, but like to be in moments of worship. Like we were talking a minute ago about like deeper moments, deeper conversations. And maybe that's always been there, but it's just being expressed more predominantly right now. It's like they desire to be in moments of worship. The highest attended event that we did at our church, but this is also other churches I'm talking to, are the fall retreats. It's the things without a whole lot of extra things attached to it, where spiritual practices are the priority there, being around one another, worship, prayer, devotion, that kind of thing. It appears that there's this deep desire to pursue God and be close to God and build the church together. Brandon sent me an article just the other day following up the generosity message that we just taught. And it's a Barna study, so it's actual statistical proof.
Yeah.
And it said the generation that's 22 and under have a deep desire to be uber generous, like uber generous. Like they want to give their money away to something that's making temporary impact, but the people that were pulled in this thing, they want to make eternal impact. There's this desire to build something bigger than themselves with eternal ramifications. So I'm like, that's a big deal to me. So that's where I see the church just killing it right now.
Yeah, I agree. There's a hunger, but I think a lot of pastors and churches that I see are doing a good job of fanning that flame. The narrative can be that, it's all this big event that's built around a pastor and celebrity and stuff like that. And it's just not what I see in the church. I see pastors or leaders who are like, no, people need to connect to God, so we're gonna do everything we can to connect them there, and not waste this opportunity of fire in the people. Like we're gonna be stewards. I think churches are doing a good job right now of stewarding people.
So my favorite thing is a little bit of a different take. It's really about the world's perspective and the desire for truth right now. They're wanting truth because we've been fed so many lies. I mean, misinformation, all these kind of words are being thrown out right now. It's like, man, people are hungry for truth.
Yeah.
And as believers, we believe that we have truth. We have the Bible. We have Christ. We have all these things that are just like timeless truths. And we're able to use the Holy Spirit to be able to draw people into Him. And so I think God is going to be able to use His church again for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was actually my dad talked to somebody recently who started coming to our church a few months ago. Or maybe actually they were in Long Beach and they moved to Gulfport, like where they lived, and so they started coming to Gulfport. And I don't know them, but the guy was talking to my dad, and he said we just really love the church and just saying a lot of good things. And the guy said this. He said what we love about the church is that we're not like pointed at and like forced to do something. And I'm not talking about like serving or something like that. I'm talking about like legalistic. He's like it's what he meant was it's not a legalistic, like when the teaching's happening, it's not this legalistic like you must. He said but we're given the responsibility to do it, to do whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like that's the mindset. That's actually what we desire is to give people truth to the best of our ability.
Yeah.
Give people truth and allow God to do, the Holy Spirit to do what He does in people's lives, to accomplish what He wants to accomplish in people's lives for His kingdom. And we're doing the best that we can in order to facilitate that, to steward that. We talked about it Sunday. It's like, hey, this is God wants to build His kingdom.
Yeah.
We say yes, sir.
Yeah.
We are going to steward the people and the resources and whatever to the best of our ability in order to see the kingdom of God advance. and do that with a pure heart. There's always going to be the negative side. There's always going to be things going on that you can always point to and be like, but you know, it's almost like theologically. Somebody sent me a video a couple days ago, and this guy was interviewing this. He's actually a Christian comedian, and he was being interviewed by these other like Christian TV people, and I don't know how they ended up here, but these two people asked him this extremely controversial theological question, like there in a way that there was no right answer.
Yeah.
They were just like, they set him up for controversy about this theological thing that people have been debating for thousands of years. And his response was just super, he made a joke, but he basically was just like, I'm not falling for that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have time for this, you know, like I'm not doing this. But he did it in a funny way. He's super smart guy, you know?
Yeah.
But I was like, man, that's just what some people, they want to watch the world burn.
Yep.
They want to watch the church burn. They just like, they have this desire for that. And it's like, why? Like, why? Like, let's live different than that. Like, let's not be that place. Let's not be that people. I don't know. It's just,
I think that's one of the reasons I appreciate that question. Similar to what you said, hey, what's something God's doing in your life? It causes you to look at that. A question like that says, okay, let me take my eyes off the negative and let me look at the positive, or let me see what God actually is doing. So, and I think you can find that in every area of your life. When you look at the pro, and it's not being passive or like pushing away truth. It's saying, you know what? God is still building his church. We've said it several times. God is still building his church, and people are still falling in love with Jesus. They're surrendering their life to him. We were looking at some year-end numbers for us. We've seen so many people get baptized this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
more than last year. But
that's other churches too. Like something.
Well, you know what? I think some people think that because the world, our nation is morally, mainstream morality is moving towards away from biblical morals, that somehow is directly connected to the church being not doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, the church is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. It won't stand up. It's not, she's not doing what she's supposed to be doing, and so therefore the world's going to hell in a handbasket.
Yep.
That's what I feel sometimes.
I agree.
In the stuff that I see online, and I'm like, Jesus Christ was on the earth.
Mm-hmm.
It's true, dude.
And the world was burning.
Yeah.
The Roman Empire. I mean, a few years after they left, like Israel.
Right.
I mean, the Jerusalem's like, and everything's falling. You got disciples that are being crucified and all this kind of stuff's going on. And I'm like,
Jesus needs to take a stand.
that's how it feels.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm like, no, the church is doing what the church is supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. Like this. Satan's a prince of the power of the air. Like, we're in a spiritual war, and we have no idea what's going on underneath, underground, right? Like, what's going on. Yeah. And but we have to remain faithful. And I guess whenever you get off of Facebook and you get off of the articles and you actually go talk to pastors and talk to people who were literally in it, you're like, dude, people are loving people. Mm-hmm. People are being discipled. The gospel is being preached. I don't know.
It's working.
Me and Joel were talking earlier. There was a family in our church that's going through really, a really tough situation because of bad decisions that were made. And I met with them, a couple nights ago, and we just had a wide open conversation and just really tried to minister to them. And as I was talking to them, I did what I do a lot of times. Hey, just so you know, I'm not airing this out. I'm not talking about this with other people. And I said, so whoever you tell is the people that'll know this. So they said, well, these two people know. I said, oh, okay. And one of the names kind of stuck out to me. I was like, why do they know? How do they know? And they began to share a story that, well, when we were really plugged into the church, I served with this person and we became very close friends. Yeah. And that when all this hit the fan in our life, I felt like that was a couple, a family I could reach out to. So I did. And do you know what, dude? That family that they reached out to showed up that evening, went into their home, brought them food, ministered to them, prayed over them, and nobody knew a thing about it. Yep. Like, those types of things are happening all the time.
Right.
Yeah. it doesn't sell. It doesn't sell. But I got a feeling it gets the attention of Jesus, though. It gets the attention of Jesus. So the church is alive. It's active. And as we trend down, as society goes more into crisis, people are looking for answers, like what you said. And the church is filling up. So I think as we continue to provide answers to the big questions, the big conversations, God will continue to trust us with people. We have one more episode left in this season, and we have a special guest with us. It is Pastor Van.
The General.
The General.
He's back.
And it is the Christmas edition also. So, dude,
Oh boy.
when you combine these two things,
It'd be wild.
it is going to be a party. So be sure to dial in. Be ready for that. We are gearing up for Christmas. Like, subscribe, share, and be sure to watch us. Enter that ugly sweater contest by saying what is the best Christmas movie of all time. We'll see you.